You look out at your backyard at dusk. The geese are settled on the freezing grass, heads tucked under dark wings, completely motionless. You assume they are resting. They aren't. The flock is operating as a distributed neural network, forcing perimeter birds to keep one eye open and half their brain locked on the dark. They are executing a thermal exchange to hold their feet at exactly 33 degrees. They are tracking microscopic predator vibrations through the frozen dirt, and they are prepared to completely override their own circadian rhythm. Stay to the end. The synchronized morning reboot is the reason that motionless flock is never actually asleep. Number 1, the distributed neural network. Most people think a sleeping flock is just a group of tired individuals. They assume everyone simply shuts down equally for the night, blind and vulnerable in the dark. It is actually a highly coordinated, multi-brain surveillance system. Neurological studies on waterfowl demonstrate a specialized state called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. This mechanism allows edge-roosting birds to keep one eye open and one brain hemisphere completely active, while the interior birds sleep fully. They are literally sharing the metabolic cost of vigilance. Look closely at that V-shaped huddle on your dark lawn. The birds in the center have both eyes closed. They are completely unconscious. But the bird on the far left edge, right near your cedar fence, is doing something else entirely. Its right eye is buried deep in its feathers to conserve heat, but its left eye is wide open. It is locked dead on the tree line. It is processing visual data in real time while half of its brain rests. What this tells you about the flock is this: at night, they cease being individuals. They operate as a single, unified organism sharing a central security protocol. But keeping an eye open doesn't solve the immediate, lethal problem of sleeping on solid frozen grass. Number 2, the physics of freezing ground. Most people assume a goose's feet are just tough, or that they simply suffer through the freezing temperatures. They assume the bird tolerates the agonizing pain of the frost until the sun comes up. They are actually running a highly engineered active thermal exchange. Waterfowl utilize a specialized vascular structure called the rete mirabile. In this intricate biological radiator, warm arterial blood flowing down from the core heats the cold venous blood returning from the foot. This continuous countercurrent heat exchange keeps the bare webbing at exactly 33 to 35 degrees Fahrenheit. It holds the tissue just 1 degree above freezing. Picture the goose standing on your frost-covered grass at 2 a.m. Its bare webbing is pressed directly against the sharp ice crystals. It isn't shivering. It isn't pulling its feet up into its feathers. Because of that relentless thermal exchange, it is losing almost zero core body heat to the frozen surface beneath it. The physical reality here shifts how you must view them. Their bodies are running constant, high-level thermodynamic calculations while they sleep, and the very medium they choose to sleep on acts as an entirely different kind of survival mechanism. Number 3, the kinetic tripwire. Most people think geese sleep on open lawns simply for clear visual sightlines. They assume it is entirely about seeing the predator coming across the grass. It is actually because the ground acts as a vastly superior sensory medium in pitch blackness. Behavioral ecology documents that roosting geese use highly sensitive mechanoreceptors in their bodies to detect microscopic ground vibrations. A predator's physical footstep sends kinetic ripples through the dirt that alert the flock seconds before any visual contact is even possible. The ground itself is a massive radar dish. Step into your pitch-black backyard at midnight. A fox steps cautiously onto the far edge of the lawn, 50 yards away from the flock. Long before that sentinel goose can see a single shadow in the dark, the microscopic ground vibrations travel through the frozen dirt and hit the bird's resting body. The kinetic energy instantly wakes the dormant half of its brain. What this tells you about your yard is this: they don't just hide from the dark. They actively use the physical environment to drastically expand their sensory reach, which leads to the most surprising biological override they execute when you think they are resting. Number 4. The lunar override. Most people assume diurnal birds are strictly bound to the daylight. They think geese sleep every single night without fail, rigidly anchored to the setting sun. Geese will actively swap their entire circadian rhythm based on the lunar cycle. GPS tracking and behavioral monitoring show massive documented spikes in nocturnal foraging during full moons. By abandoning sleep and feeding in the bright moonlight, they successfully reduce their daytime predator and human exposure by up to 50%. You are lying in bed at 3 a.m. You hear the sudden, low tearing of grass coming from your backyard. You hear a soft, shuffling footstep. They aren't lost. They haven't been spooked into the dark by a passing coyote. They are actively feeding, walking, and navigating by a pale moonlight you can barely read a book by. They simply turned the night into day. You are witnessing a biological pragmatism that most humans completely lack. Their schedule is dictated entirely by survival efficiency, not the rotation of the Earth. I've saved this one for last, because it belongs last. Waking up is not just a bird opening its eyes. It is a synchronized physiological reboot of dozens of connected minds, breaking a unified nocturnal organism back down into solitary individuals. You know the moment. You were standing by the back window holding a cup of coffee, looking out at the gray, freezing dawn. The flock was perfectly still, and then a sudden, collective stir rippled through the grass. It is not a failure of scientific discipline to find the sheer scale of this nocturnal coordination staggering. The mechanics of survival they run in the dark are magnificent. Anyone who has looked out at a flock at first light has felt the sudden, electric shift as the group collectively wakes. You aren't imagining the tension. You are standing at the exact boundary of a massive biological shift. The dawn breaks over your frozen backyard. The single sentinel goose on the outer edge opens its second eye. The unihemispheric slow-wave sleep officially ends. The thermal exchange in their legs accelerates, pushing a rush of warm blood back down into the cold webbing. A single, low-contact call ripples across the frost. The flock answers. The distributed neural network officially powers down. The organism fragments back into individuals. They stretch their wings, shaking the heavy frost from their dark feathers, preparing to move. They step off the ice to begin the day. The night is over, and the yard resumes.